are back with you on a beautiful sunny Saturday. A little chilly, but sunny. And we live in God's country here. We really do. This is a great place, great neck of the world, neck of the woods to live. And I was just thinking this morning when I was looking at the greenhouse this morning, there's, October 13th is when I brought all my succulents in. Yep. My tropicals, got them all put to bed in the greenhouse, right? So October, November, December, January, February, March, April, end of April is when I can start thinking about putting them outside.
Right.
That's 6 months. So not bad. The Okanagan, 6 months in, 6 months out. Now, if you're in Brisbane, Australia, it's a different story. 12 months of the year, it's outside.
It could be too hot.
Then you go to Calgary, Alberta, and we're a little bit less. I don't think they'd have that same 6 months window. I think they're probably more like
three or four.
Oh, 3 or 4. No, I don't know.
Depends on the season.
If there's somebody, it'd be interesting to hear from somebody that was a prairie person that grew up and gardened and that in Calgary. Yeah, Edmonton, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, like Edmonton.
Yeah, and that's where the cold crop thing really comes into practice, because with a little cold frame or a little greenhouse like you have, even if it's unheated, it makes a big difference for sure. But it's a little tough to have a glass greenhouse out on the prairie due to the hailstorms and whatnot. But it's a challenge growing out there. I always have I don't know. I feel that these prairie gardeners are a different breed. Like they're
they are, and I admire them. I admire them. My brother-in-law's wife, Carol, they live in Calgary, actually the outskirts of Calgary, and she's an avid gardener. And you go to their place, and their yard is fabulous, full of plants and flowers and everything like that. But the season is short. There's no doubt about it. So I'd like to hear from someone who has gardened on the prairies, and just give us a little tale of how that season works. Like I'm saying, we've got 6 months relatively frost free. 5.5 months. Because at the end of April, you normally don't get a frost. You can, but unusual.
Depends on the year, yeah.
Unusual to get a frost.
We were unable to plant annuals out until June 5th one year because it was still freezing at night, and then we just said, that's it, we're going planting them anyway because it was still freezing.
Live or die.
We got to do it. But so they say May 24th long weekend, and that's what we aim for, just to be safe, because. But like you say, you can always go buy new plants. Yep. But the plants that do sit in that cold soil, you've said it before, that they don't really benefit. Other than the cold crop plants, and we got to really just shut it down and note that there is a big difference between warm loving plants and cold loving plants, because those cold loving plants, they want to be out when there's still snow on the ground almost, and they're happy. Like the kale, we were talking about kale earlier. There's lots of plants and lettuce and spinach, and a lot of the really good green type plants are really great. They love the cold, so they like to freeze a bit.
I'll always remember a conversation that Scott Austin was having with another person. We were standing in line. We were at a conference of some sort, and I hadn't met Scott, but I knew who he was, and I knew what he looked like, so I knew it was Scott. And he was saying, just casual conversation, I think this was in early March or something, and he said, nope, my mother always said if she didn't get her peas in by the end of February, it's too late. Planting your pea seeds. And there are situations where people plant in the fall. In fact, I think we've got a few customers or clients, or not clients, but listeners out there that have actually said, well, I planted my peas in September, and let's see what happens. They came up, and they're, see if they survive the winter.
Oh, yeah, they've done really well. I know several gardeners who just swear by it. They only plant their peas in the fall. And they're up as soon as they can be up in the spring. They're up early, so the pea seeds survive, and it's just I think it's one of these things like we always complain that sometimes birds get the lawn seed. Well, they really love pea seeds, even much more. It's a bigger bite, But I always like to have raised beds, and I like to have them covered with some sort of either chicken wire or something, just to keep the animals away from it, especially if I have something in there that's special.
Speaking of birds and animals, Ken, we've just had a little electrical work done at our place, and in order for the electrician to get at the entrance to our box and whatnot, I had to cut. There was a variegated feather reed grass. I forget the name. Overdam, yeah, feather reed grass. And I cut it right down. And you know how in the center they die out? Mm-hmm. You know what was in the center?
Mouse nest.
Nope. Quail's nest.
Quail's nest.
A quail's nest. That's right better. In the center there, and all the broken eggs that they'd hatched. They're all there.
Oh, that's cool.
Fascinating to see. But so I didn't know that was going on. Mm-hmm. All that stuff was going on. We didn't know. Well, we had quail in the garden eating my darn peas and stuff. But
that's where they were coming from.
Yeah, they're coming from there. So. Although
I like the quail.
They're so cute.
I watch them what they eat, and the little, especially the young quail, they'll eat the weed seeds.
Yes.
So they go along, and anywhere there's weeds, and particularly those weedy grasses like barnyard grass and even foxtail grass, they'll go along and they'll eat those little seeds. Yep. And they love them.
They're so cute, those little quail. Well, we're going to take a short break here. Invite your calls, 250-862-2525. We're going to get back on track because now it is time for that break at the bottom of the hour, and we really would love to hear from you. 250-862-2525. We'll be back with more AM 1150 Garden Show. We are back with you, and it is Don Burnett and Ken Salvail. We always love being here with you guys, and appreciate all the comments we get on the show because it's kind of a show that's there's no rhyme or reason to it. Sometimes we have something to talk about. Sometimes we don't, but we always know that it is caller driven. So give us a call. Even if it's not a question, even if you just you're calling, just say, "Hey guys, how you doing? Yeah, I had a good gardening year this year," and
brag about your pumpkins or something.
Yeah, that kind of stuff, because that's what it's all about. We've always said that right back from the beginning when we were doing it in 1983. We said this is just like gardeners talking over the back fence, chatting about your gardens, and whoa, where'd you get your seed from this year? And this seed didn't germinate, or that did, and
yeah. You know what? I spoke at the Kelowna Garden Club this week. And it was really great. Right. It was really cool to have they have a Zoom set up there so that they have just a few, like a small group of people and all spaced out in the room, and then they have the Zoom camera that sits at the podium, and that gets you to all the garden club members that are at home. So Beautiful. The garden club goes on, and it's really great and pretty cool. I just love talking to gardeners. There's so many great, that exchange, and that's what we do on this show, really. But it's that exchange of information that's so much fun. And we were talking about worms, of course. What do you talk about? We talked a lot about worms. We talked about composting predominantly, but the worms, they do the work. They're just one of the best part of the garden, I would say, as far as organisms that live there and that help you. The worms are the best. Oh yeah, they really are.
Ken, can you get access to a worm bin, like a regular home worm bin? Can you buy them?
Yep.
You buy them online or what? Because I haven't seen them in the garden.
No, it's a system. You can buy a specific bin that's a good. I use a fairly large bin now. So they're like the tote bins, but they're just heavier duty, and they're nice and they're extra deep. I think they're over 12. I think they must be about 14 inches deep, but they're extra long. At least 30 inches long by 24 inches wide. Pretty big bin. And, they're fabulous. And then you just start out with some black diamond peat is one of the best things to start with, just to put your base in. And then you can pick up some worms. There's several worm suppliers, so you can get some worms and put a small amount in there. And they love that black diamond peat there. They just get in there and they enjoy it. And then you just start adding your vegetables and stuff on the top. And, of course, they come up at night and they feed on whatever you put in there
now,
on the surface.
Is there drainage in that? Or
No.
No drainage. It's like a bin.
You want
so you don't add water? You never add water? Just your vegetables add the moisture?
Depends on the situation. I had about 6 bins going there for a while, and some of them just seemed to always dry out. And I think I let them get too dry, and it wasn't a good situation. Okay. And the ones that were too wet were not that good either. So it was one of these things where you monitor and you learn to dig down in the corners and check it out. And it's nice to keep that layer of vegetation on the surface. Fresh veggies is really nice, lettuce and, apples, pretty much anything, even oranges, they're fine.
Yeah. And
so just all your table scraps, that was really what we wanted to do, and the worms make quick work of it. And I was talked at the talk I gave at the garden club. I was talking about the time I used time-lapse photography to follow my veggie bins to see what was going on, 24 hours a day for about, I think, 6 days. And what was fascinating was in the daytime, there was no action at all on the surface of those bins, right? Nothing. But at night, it was just a flurry of activity. All the worms would come up, all different species, and they come up and they scavenge on the surface, and they're eating weeds and eating plants. And there was these huge dewworms in the time lapse that were, I swear they were over a foot long for sure. And one of them came up and grabbed a banana peel and tried to pull the whole banana peel down its hole. I couldn't believe it. I thought, is that a snake? Like, what is that thing?
Isn't that interesting?
It's fascinating. But just to watch, 6 nights, and even it was actually starting to freeze a bit. So it would freeze at night too. So they would, on my camera, it had a temperature. It would tell you what the outside temperature was. So as it approached 0, they were still outside doing their thing, right to 0. Wow. But the second it froze, they all went away. Yeah, they were hiding.
I'd love to see that. We've got to go to the phone lines because we've got Val on the line. Good morning, Val.
Hello. I have a question. You mentioned worms.
Yeah.
And I heard a long time ago that if a worm is cut in half or something or whatever, that makes 2 worms. Is that so?
No, that's an old wives' tale. They have parts, and they need all of them. The anatomy of the worm. If you Google it, it'll show you the anatomy of the worm. And no,
needs the whole thing. Yeah.
Starfish might grow a new arm, but worms don't regenerate and become 2 worms.
Okay, thanks.
That's a great question, though.
Yeah, thanks for calling in.
Thank you, dear. Okay.
Thanks.
Let's go back to the worm bin that we used to have in the garden center. Now, the worm, the moment you mention that to people, they think, oh, smell and blah, blah, blah. No, there's no smell. No smell whatsoever.
No, you keep the lid on it.
Yeah.
It's got a lid. They don't really need to know. The black bins that I use have a yellow lid, and the yellow lid actually glows a bit in the daytime. So it's nice if the worms kind of know what's night and day because they feed mostly at night. Right. And so they also need to have warmth. Most of the varieties that you use are varieties that live in warmer climates, so they don't like to be outside. They'd rather be in the garage or something like that. Where
Red wrigglers, right?
Yeah, the California red wigglers, and of course there's all kinds of night crawlers. There's quite a few species you can get now. The South African night crawlers are pretty popular. Yeah, but it's a matter of, you got to have connections, right? You got to have connections.
Well, I really want to do it. Donna keeps mentioning we've got to get a worm bin because what do you do with this? I mean, you can put your stuff out for composting and that sort of thing.
Yeah, but with the rats and stuff around, you're better off to have a system that's, like I say, in the garage is a good spot for them.
Yeah. I remember clearly once with there was an apple in that worm bin, and they actually got inside the apple and ate all the insides out, and all that was left there was this apple skin.
Yeah, and it still looked like a perfect
apple. It looked
apple.
like an apple, but all the insides were eaten out of it. Those worms, they're fabulous. They
really are.
They know what they're doing.
Yeah, see, think about it when they're in your lawn and whatnot. It's a great thing. It's their aeration. They're allowing oxygen to get down into the earth, and especially if you do have heavy soil, it's opening up those little passageways. We always talk about roots needing oxygen. Well, how would they get oxygen? Well, especially if it's compacted or whatever, those little worm tunnels, that's where the air gets in and feeds the roots. And so the plants love the worms.
And often when you have a lot of dewworm issues in the lawn, making the bumps and all that, it's because they're trying to tell you that your lawn needs aeration.
Yeah,
You know.
and they come up to feed at night like the other ones.
Yeah.
I would love to get a time-lapse photography of the lawn to see what goes on when we're sleeping.
So you do that on your cell phone, right?
No, I have one of those wildlife cams.
Oh,
the little wildlife cams, and they got all different settings on them.
There
And
you go.
I just put it like pointing right down at the earth, and see the whole veggie bin come to life at night. And it's just dead in the daytime. Like there's nothing going on in the daytime, but at night, ooh, unbelievable.
Yeah.
There's a party. There's a party.
Speaking of wildlife, we've got some good friends, Sherry and Jim Keller, that just live down the street from us. And I mean literally down the street. They live on Gushigan.
Oh, yeah.
And during that snowfall, guess what they found in their backyard? Bear tracks.
What?
Like bear tracks.
Really?
Yep.
Sure, it wasn't just a huge raccoon.
It would have to be an awfully big raccoon. I mean, these were bear tracks.
That's a 400-pound raccoon.
Bear tracks in the Gushigan area. But, you know. So, I mean, unless they were fooling us. They put it on Facebook.
No, I believe
I'll show you that during the break. I'll show you
a lot
the
of
picture.
bears around.
Show you the picture. I have seen deer in our neighborhood too, but bears? Oh my goodness! And they're supposed to be starting to hibernate now. So why are they around?
Well, they're going to eat right to the bitter end, I'm sure. There's as long as there's food available, they'll
Fatten
keep
up.
eating. Yep.
Fatten up. Well, you know what? Because there are no calls on the line right now, what we will do is take our last break, and that gives us a whole big, wide, fat last segment. Okay.
Yep.
And it gives you a chance to phone in 250-862-25. Well, I haven't asked Gurinder yet. Is that allowed? Let's break. We're going to do that. We'll be back with more AM 1150 Garden. Well, here we are, the last lap of the show. Tiger Woods is going to be playing next week at the Masters.
Oh, Masters.
Totally
They
different.
changed it all around, eh?
Totally different Masters.
Yeah.
Of course, there's no crowds. I think
okay.
even, whoever wins the Masters, unlikely it'll be Tiger Woods, but wouldn't that be something if it was? But whoever wins the Masters, it's going to be interesting because, all that ceremonial stuff and everything's going to change. And there's no magnolias in bloom. Normally it's in April when you got the southern magnolias blooming, Magnolia Lane, and all that hoopla that happens.
Yeah.
This year it's just plain and simple. Let's grind it out, play a game, who's winner take all. And the green jacket is mine, and we have to sanitize the green jacket before we put it on. That kind of stuff. But it'll be good. It'll be fun to watch.
Do you wear your green jacket while you're watching?
I don't, Ken. I have that in the Golf Hall of Fame back in Montreal, Canada.
Oh, there you go. Very nice, very nice.
Yeah, the green jacket that I won several years ago. Yeah, well, anybody could buy a green jacket, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, 250-862-2525. If you want to join us for the last little bit here of the garden show, the AM 1150 garden show, as I say, we've been here since 1983 when I was a mere baby of 33 years old.
Yeah.
33 years old. So over half my life, I've been doing this.
Yeah.
Over half.
I wasn't even born then.
I know. You were, but you're a mere,
what was I doing?
a mere
83.
child.
I was working in greenhouses, of course.
By the, at 83, you were in the greenhouses? Yep. And then you joined up with us in 86, and the rest is history.
Landscaping, before that even,
So I've known you for half my life. It's really, I've known Ken Salvail for half my
your
life.
Wow.
I've known you for 10 years.
Yeah. 10 years.
No.
Yeah, it's been a great run.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed my time working with you at Burnetts and the greenhouses. That was some of the best memories of my life.
Well, it was great. I'll never forget the first time I met you. You just got me going right off the bat, and you brought some young ideas into the business at the time. You were in your early 20s, I guess, and I was 35 and 36, I guess, and you brought lots of great young ideas into the fore.
In those days, I can recall I was always in seminars everywhere and reading and studying. I was just totally immersed in the whole horticulture thing, And I know we were talking about integrated pest management, which was kind of a new approach to controlling pests and insects. And then just the plant identification thing was out of control. There was just so much. Because I had done my apprenticeship program, or was either in it or partway through it. And we were just so... we had so many plants to learn in such a short period of time, but it was great. That's what launch is a horticulturist. You start from that, and then self-study. Like with anything, I always think, I'm a lifelong learner. I still study every day, and there's so much to know, so much to learn. It's a lot of fun. It's good industry.
We could talk about our relationship over the years, because I'm telling you, it was fabulous. We got a call come in, and old friend Addie has phoned in. Good morning, Addie.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
We're well.
Good, thanks. Yeah.
I have a question about my Christmas cactus. Does it need, more water than usual? Or do they like to dry out like they did before they were blooming?
They need more water than a desert cactus, right, Ken?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they need regular watering, but I still like to let them get dry between waterings. I just feel the soil, and when the surface is dry, then I consider watering it within the next day or so, and then. But
you know what? You totally cut out there, so I didn't hear. I didn't hear the answer at all.
Yeah, well, like I say, I just keep checking by feeling the moisture in the soil, and when the moisture, when it starts to feel dry, I consider watering it within the next day or so, and then when I water it, I give it a good soaking, and then just let it go till it pretty much dries out again. So. Yeah, that's a cycle I keep on going, whether they're blooming or not. I do know if they dry out too much while they're in bloom, that they will just drop all their flowers. That's for sure.
Oh, okay. So it's better to keep an eye on them, and they want more water when they're blooming than when they're just sitting outside.
Seems like it. Yep.
Okay. My other question is, I've mulched all my roses and everything, but I ran out of mulch for one plant, and I just covered it with soil. Is that a bad thing to do, because the soil is going to be too heavy on it? It won't get any air to it?
It's better to have materials that are porous. It gives you a little better insulation. But you have mulched it up with soil, so that's okay. That's acceptable. I would just say that next time you get a little bit of potting soil or something that's left over, you can just put some of that on it, and that'll give you a little extra insulation.
Super. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a wonderful weekend.
Addie, you as well. Take care.
Happy Remembrance Day.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So the day today, Ken, is 9 hours and 26 minutes long.
Yeah.
7 hours and 25 minutes shorter than the longest day on June 21st.
Yeah.
The shortest day coming up will be on December 21st, and it'll be 8 hours and 5 minutes. So we got another hour and a bit, hour and 20 minutes or so to shorten up before we get to December 21st. And then they get longer again. I like the long days. That's what I like.
Oh, yeah.
Sure, these short winter days are dreary and not plant friendly. And, but the greenhouse is, I can't tell you how much fun I'm having in that greenhouse. And Ken, we're talking about when we first got together, and I knew, like when we had the interview, you'd gone through your season in Cranbrook. So you came to Kelowna when the season was done. But I liked you so much right off the bat. I hired you, and you were willing to come on minimum wage, whatever it takes, Don. Minimum wage. I'll be your delivery guy, your runaround guy. Yep. Within a year, within 6 months, that following spring, you're managing the nursery.
Yeah. Well, I was managing the previous one because I worked 7 days a week, and I started. I'm trying to think when it was I started, but I did the same thing with them. As I just said, look, this is what I'm going to do. You can either hire me or hire somebody else. Yep. But this is what I do. This is what I do for a living. This is what I'm going to do. So, and I'll, and I actually, with the other employer I offered, I said, well, I'll work for you for 7 days straight, no charge. Won't even charge you. And then and if you like me, then hire me. And it was awesome because I really loved it. It was like, getting paid to work in greenhouses and to work in the nursery and all that. That's great fun. And being involved with the flower shops too, on both ends, because it was a big deal where I came from. And when I came to Burnetts, of course, they had the biggest flower shops. in town, I'm sure, by far, and it was a fabulous experience, and got to just know so many fabulous florists and all about that whole floral industry and how that works. Of course, it was one of the things that we did, at Burnetts, and one of the things I did was driving down to the coast and going to the big Dutch auction and looking through I don't know how many square feet that place is, but it was humongous and full of every plant and flower you could ever imagine. Like, that was a treat. It's always tough getting up at 4:15, to go to work, but it's part of farming, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, Ken,
that's good.
Those auction days were fascinating. You sit in the chair. 135 was our number, I think. Yep. And we sit in our chair, number 135, and we sit there with a button. And it was a Monday morning auction, flower auction. And they have these big, huge carts full of various plants, cut flowers. They come through.
Everything you can imagine, tropicals.
Previous to sitting in the chair, of course, you get to go and walk through and look at the cart numbers.
That's why you had to be there at 4:30 usually.
And you mark down what cart you want. And then you sit there, and there's a big clock at the front. And the clock starts at X number of dollars per flat or per pot or per the whole cart.
Which was usually
or
very, very the highest you could ever imagine.
Yeah, high, and then it just drop, and people press buy one. And then all of a sudden now there's only a few left, certain number left. And you get down, you got to have it. So you just jump in.
Sometimes you got to pay more to get it. Whoever buys first gets it. So it was a great system. It was really a lot of fun, really.
Then you load the truck up, and then you go up to the various stops along the way, like Haney Pottery and the various stops and nurseries and Cato's and that. Just the one last story, and I think I've told this before, but the time that Donnie came home, and he had bought this big bucket of delphiniums, and of course, when you make a mistake, the whole place goes woo, right?
Yeah.
So you got it.
Yeah.
So he comes home with this big bucket of delphiniums, paid 5 times more than they were worth, and he explained it to me. It was on the back of the truck. Do you know, we accidentally tripped on the thing, it fell off and landed right on the top and broke every delphinium in the bucket.
Every single one.
Done deal. It was a good story. Anyway, it was a good memory. Yeah. Bad memory, but kind of fun.
It's one of those things in life. Yeah. I can remember a few incidents along the way that were some up and some down.
Okay, well, we've got a caller, Hildegard, but we're going to have to wait till after the show, Ken, because we are getting close to the end of the show. Maybe we can just say quick hello to Hildegard before that. Hildegard?
Yes,
you're
hello.
On the air. Yeah, do you have a quickie?
Yes, I'd like to know about the Christmas flower.
Oh, the poinsettia.
The poinsettia?
How long do you have to keep it dark?
Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do, because you've got your radio turned up. Hildegard, you hang on. We're going to put you on hold. You hang on, and I will give you the whole story on poinsettias after we go off the air here, and I'll take the line for you and answer your questions, because we've only got about a couple of minutes left here now. We're going to have to give the tips and plants of the week and that sort of thing, and then we're out of here. My tip of the week was think of a child or a young person who would benefit from a gardening experience and get them going, whether it's a grandchild, whether it's a son or a daughter, whether it's a friend's son or daughter or just a neighbor. Turn them on to gardening, because there's nothing better, and they can do that without having to use their iPhone. Plant of the week this week for me is a Rieger begonia.
Very nice. My tip of the week this week is that you can store your leaves that you collect this year in garbage cans and actually moisten them down, put the lid on, keep the lid on all winter, and in the spring the whole thing goes moldy a bit, and it creates this beautiful leaf mold that you can use as a compost product and add it into your gardens. I usually add it around the end of June. Any areas that are blank. All right, and my plant of the week is also a begonia, but it's a Begonia Rex. Begonia Rex is a beautiful plant that's grown for its foliage. Dawn's was grown for its flowers, and Begonia Rex has beautiful leaves and just a cool plant, all different colors, sizes, types. Just keep your eyes peeled for those. Excellent plant. That's my tips and plants. Remember to check growercoach.com. Remember to go to the YouTube channel, Grower Coach, and subscribe. Very important.
Way to go, Ken. Just one last note before I give the Shy-Go moment here. I found a marmorated stink bug in my living room.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the invasive one. That's the one that's causing issues.
Bad.
So I just want to tell people, there's lots of different stink bugs out there, but I found the bad guy in my living room. Now it's frozen in my thing, and it's going to add it to my collection.
Right.
That's the only benefit to this whole thing is I got one now for my collection, my bug collection.
There you go.
Okay, we're going to just give you the Shy-Go moment, which is a little saying from Alex Shy-Go, Dr. Alex Shy-Go, father of modern arboriculture. And his quote of the week this week is, "People who do not read starve the mind." There you go.
Ooh,
very profound.
Very profound.
We will go and I'll talk to Hilda off the air, Hildegard.
Yep.
And we'll see you next week with more AM 1150 Garden Show.